Hey, welcome everyone. Hey, uncovering growth is a life's unscripted moments, meaning, geez, I'm really messing this up. This episode, uncovering growth in life's unscripted moments, means learning to find strength, resilience, and personal development in situations where there is no longer a clear plan of structure. Often we experience the most growth when life doesn't go as expected, whether it's a sudden change, a challenge, an opportunity that comes out of nowhere. In these moments of uncertainty, we're pushed to adapt, reflect, and sometimes rethink our approach to life. By stepping outside of the rigid framework we often find set for ourselves, we become more open to new possibilities and deeper insights. It's about embracing the unpredictability of life, using it as a catalyst for self discovery and transformation rather than resisting it. And today, this is exactly what's happened with these individuals who are on the show. Again, I am your host, Al Richards. Welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. And today we have the Penny Project. I met Constance at an event that I spoke at, and she came out to the hall and was speaking with me and telling me about it. And I found it very, very interesting because they're out there helping a lot of our kids, and a lot of our kids need help right now. It's a lot different from when I was growing up. Some of these kids have no food, no shelter. Some of these kids have parents who are incarcerated or who are struggling with addiction. Life's hard, man. Life is really hard. And what these individuals are doing, they have stepped up to the plate to help these kids and hopefully keep them from going down the wrong road. So I would like to let the ladies go first. So Constance, if you could introduce yourself and say what it is that you do, that would be great.
Awesome. Actually, I want to say thank you first for having us on this show. My name is Constance Montoya. I am the founder and executive director of the Penny Project. We are a unique organization that we all have a time in our life where, like Al said, we've been through some different types of things and situations in life. Um, Mine occurred as a young adult, as a young child, as my mother was a young adult having a early pregnancy with me and didn't speak English. And my father was a biker guy who took my mom under her wing. And our life was really rough, really rough. So most of our life was encountered on the street. My mom trying to figure out the English thing and being on welfare and just having nowhere to turn to, lots of trials and tribulations, which many of her past interventions in life ended up being with gentlemen with drug addiction, heroin, alcohol, etc., which had affected me as a child in an abusive environment, very abusive. So as a youngster, I was probably 12 years old at my first time running away from home, entered the streets, thinking I knew life on the streets. It just didn't end up that way. The streets took over my life in a lot of different ways. And I remember being a child and just praying, Lord, I'm here. Let me take the struggles of the earth and just move forward and help those that are in need of help. And someday I'll pay you back. Well, that I never knew what my life was going to obtain in the future. But all I know is I learned a lot of lessons from my past and what not to do. So I thought I would utilize those by starting the Penny Project. Um, Going back to my prayer days where I said, hey, Lord, one day I'm going to pay you back. I asked him to hold my hand through life, made graduation, got a scholarship. I ended up going to college part time. I ended up in an early marriage, which my ex husband ended up in prison, incarcerated for selling cocaine of 20 years. At that point, I knew there was nowhere to go but to go back to school and pick myself up. At that point, I started realizing all the children that were on the streets and had nowhere to go, living a similar life. And I promised God that if He gave us one day a team of people who can help me make a difference, then I would love to work for him and hold his hand through this journey. I never knew the journey was going to be so beautiful. I never knew we were going to help so many children. Uh, my brother and I started, and another lady, and my fiance at that time, who had passed away 6 months after we started the Penny Project. Um, we started as like maybe a referral resource and stuff like that. Before we knew it, there was children asking for help everywhere, just coming everywhere. We didn't know what we were going to do, so we started doing activities. They started bringing friends from school whose parents were being incarcerated or deported or similar situations, didn't have nobody to talk about abuse or what should they do or who could they talk to, as a confidant of peer pressure and bullying at school. So we realized the problem was a lot bigger than we had imagined. At that point, I came to Utah and decided I was going to open up the Penny Project. I was in Utah for 6 months and decided to go full blown with it. But then at that point, I needed mentors, which the rest of our team came in. But I wanted mentors that were not perfect. I wanted mentors who understood the streets and the vulnerability of the children and the aspect of protection and feeling safe, and at the same time feeling scared, and how to use their voice. And so we became the Penny Project at that point. I met Christopher Ramirez probably a year after that. And yeah, that's pretty much how it started. It's a long story. We don't have time for the whole thing, but yeah, that's how we got started.
And I love that when you said, Constance, that you wanted a team of like the imperfect people. And
Yeah.
and the first thing that popped in my head was a conversation Timothy and I was having before we started recording, and that was about The Chosen. And I've seen a lot of Jesus movies. I don't know how many of us have, but I've seen quite a few of them. And it's crazy because the people he picked as his disciples weren't they wasn't the perfect ones. They were the imperfect ones, right? Because he knew that they would get it. So I tip my hat to you for looking at it that way. Instead of going out and finding somebody that's already glorified, it's somebody that
Yeah.
has walked on that path in those shoes, because who else better to teach the kids than someone who actually has lived that life? So good on you
Right.
for that. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Timothy, you want to go next?
Yeah. Yeah. My name's Timothy, Tim Lucero, and I'm the co-founder and treasurer of the Penny Project. And like my sister, we kind of grew up in kind of a crazy situation. Hers was a little bit different than mine. We kind of have a little bit of a generational gap there. And she kind of she was the firstborn, so she had like all the hardships that the firstborns always have, and mine was a little bit later in life. I ended up struggling with addiction, and I fell down, a bunch of times, and then but each time I got back up and became stronger. And to be honest, the Penny Project has actually saved my life, and it's been part of my journey to success too, and it's been a big thing for me, and I didn't ever think it was going to just get this big, or we would help this many people, ever, and it just feels good to be part of something, that's not for ourselves, it's for somebody else.
Yeah. And you said something that was very key, was how much it's helped you. You know, it's been the same thing with me doing this podcast and having individuals like yourself who life was just, life was throwing, I like to just say it like shit balls. Life was throwing shit balls at them constantly.
For
A lot of
real.
times it was due to their own choices, right? But they're still shit balls. And
Yeah.
and so you figure your life out and you figure out your why and a direction you're going, and you're working on bettering your life and changing it to help others in all reality, you're almost helping yourself more than you're helping others. And I've had so many guests say that. And
Absolutely.
I had a guest ask me once when I had my studio, they asked if I've ever gone to therapy with all the stuff that's gone on. And I said no. And then I corrected myself. And at that time, I used to do my shows every Thursday. And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I go to therapy every Thursday. And they're like, oh, really? Where? And I'm like, right here. And they're like, what are you talking about right here? I says, my therapy are my guests that come in because they are educating me. They are teaching me more about life because what I feel as some really bad stuff that's happened to me in my life is not near as bad as some of these individuals who have come in and shared their story. And
True.
it has really awakened me. In all honesty, it has really awakened me and opened my eyes to go, my gosh, I can learn so much from these individuals because they know how to live life because they've been at the darkest part of life. I've not even come close to that. What I thought was dark, it was still lightly lit. They've come from
Right.
literally blackness and they have found the light. And that's what I love about having this show and individuals like yourself on. So thank you, Timothy.
Yeah.
Christopher, how about yourself, buddy?
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm blessed. We'll put it that way.
Absolutely.
We all are.
Yeah.
So how did you get going in all this?
Um, it's like I hit this space of time and energy where I don't know, I guess maybe it comes with the age sometimes. I want to do for the community. I want to do some good stuff, and there's other nonprofit organizations and other committees that do community things. But what I really, really liked about the Penny Project was, as I communicated and participated in things with other organizations, it seemed like there was always some form of agenda that was more personal or was more directed towards I don't know what one person chooses to want to be in that may not be in sync with everybody else's. And so what I liked about the Penny Project was and I won't get into deep detail with these particulars, but what I appreciated was what I appreciated was everything that was done within the Penny Project was stated that it was for the kids, about the kids, and in the process, no matter what was brought to the table from anybody from our team or outside from the team, is that if it wasn't attached to actually growing a young child or doing for a young child, then we just weren't doing it or it wasn't going to happen. And I appreciated the agenda of things being stated clearly that this is the purpose of our nonprofit. And that's where it's always stayed. And I figured if I was going to have to deal with anything from anybody in any form of fashion, I would rather deal with learning the turbulence of a young soul and how to navigate them into a better place instead of having to deal with, excuse my French, any old folks, because I don't want to deal with any stubborn attitudes. I'd rather not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, I got my stuff in here going off in the back.
Oh, that's
And
all right.
because of that, I don't know, man. It's so much easier to deal with the young soul. It's like if I'm gonna have to develop and do the best that I can to help somebody find their place or space or whatever it may be, I'd rather it be some young soul. I don't want to try to convince some old person to try to change. No, I'll share an idea. But if you have your own vision, that's what it's going to be. But most young souls pay attention. They want to listen. They're looking for a journey because they haven't figured one out yet. And so I know Connie and Tim and everybody else from the team respectfully kind of let me in. And with that, I thought I was showing up, as you guys stated, to kind of do for someone else other than myself. And being a part of the Penny Project, I realized that being around these young souls, these kids, these young souls actually not only help me grow up or grow, but I don't know, they also bring the youthfulness out of me that has me appreciating life and learning to smile more. And in the process, like I'm saying, I always tell this to my youngsters or any soul in general, especially young souls. And that's if you multiply your age times 365 days, that's how many real life educational experiences full of growth and maturity that nobody has ever lived, which is why you should always speak up and let people know that you have a voice. So then if I'm about to talk to some youngsters, I say that first and then do my spiel. Because if I do my spiel first and then I go to reach out to a youngster to say something, most of the time they're absolutely quiet and they don't want to say anything. But if you do the other thing first and then tell your story, it gives them a genuine opportunity to actually think, I've got something to say. I do have confidence because he is right. And then from that, as they speak, I realize that all these young souls are actually educating me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
for sure.
Tim, I love what you said, Christopher, on that about letting them know right off the bat that to use their voice. I was brought up in the era that basically kids are to be seen, not heard. You
Yeah,
didn't
and you
dare
don't
open
tell.
your mouth,
Right.
right? Because if you opened your mouth, however a kid brought it out, their voice, they either got their butt kicked or they got slapped or they got
Oh yeah.
timeout or whatever it may be. And that teaches us as youngsters that we are not allowed, and we take it into our adulthood, right? That we're not allowed to say our voice. So good on you for saying that right off the bat and recognizing that it could change. And I have to tip my hat off to my daughter and my son-in-law because I have three beautiful grandkids, and after a soccer game, my grandson was not acting very, very nice, and my daughter kept saying, "What's wrong?" And he just kept whining. And she's like, "Until you use your voice, I can't help you." And I thought, "Oh my gosh, good on you. Holy cow." And it took him a minute, but he finally said, "Mom, this is what's got me upset." Right? He
Yeah.
finally let it out. And she goes, "Okay, now I know. Isn't that better than whining all the time? Because I can't help you if you're whining all the time and complaining." So, man, I tip my hat off to you, Christopher, on that. Great job.
Yeah. You see why we have him around? He's an inspirational talker.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a question for you guys, and I don't know who wants to answer this. I guess maybe it would be Constance. How did you come up with the Penny Project? Where did that name come from?
Well, it's funny. I had just barely moved to Utah and I had went through some crazy stuff that had happened in Washington. And when I came here, I went to meet one of my friends. She runs a nonprofit as well. Shout out to Martha Garcia for Passionate Wings. She deals with domestic violence.
I know her. She's been on the show as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So me and her are junior high buddies. We used to do chaos together. And it's funny, we actually laugh now because we're both nonprofit founders when we were the troublemakers. But so I met my friend Hilda and my brother and myself. We all met up for lunch, and she wanted me to come and be on her board, but I was also transferred to the state of Oregon for domestic violence because I almost died. And I always felt like I didn't have anybody there for my children. And I always wanted help with the kids, but there was always like help emotionally, like money or clothing or stuff for me. But I didn't never feel like there was anything to heal my kids, to protect them, like to have fun and keep their mind off of the violence. And so when I came here, she told me she wanted me to be on her board. And I told her I actually would like to piggyback. I said, but I'm going to open my own nonprofit. And my friend Hilda says, well, I have the perfect name. Pennies fall from heaven. We should call it. And then my brother said, we should call it the Penny Project. And I
Yeah,
said, duh.
yeah,
Pennies are always tossed away and the kids are always forgotten, and so are pennies, but they're valuable. And so that's how we came with the Penny Project.
yeah,
Wow.
and it echoes back to from the that Bing Crosby song, "Pennies Are from Heaven."
Yeah.
And like you don't want to throw away pennies, and they're valuable, even though they're pennies, that, and they think that people don't pay attention to kids anymore, because they're just they're kind of thrown on the wayside. They're paying attention to problems, not kids, and they don't realize that's our future, and pennies are valuable, and we consider them from heaven too, so we're gonna be the ones that pick up the pennies, and we're the
We
ones
show
that.
their value. Yeah, that they are
Yeah.
valuable.
Wow, that is a great way of looking at it, and what an amazing story to call it that, because and again, it's crazy what you guys are coming up with. It just fits perfect. I've taught my grandkids, or even mentioned my grandkids, when you see a penny on the ground, the angels have just left a penny for you. The penny's
Oh, yeah.
dropped it from heaven. So make sure you pick it up, and don't believe the thing. It has to be heads. Even if it's on tails, you pick that dang thing up and put it in your pocket. So it is so cool. In my second job, I go in and clean out houses after estate sales. So whatever is
Ooh,
not
that's nice.
donated, and whatever the family doesn't take, we go in and we throw everything in dumpsters. And I find pennies all the time laying around. And one of my buddies was like, I'm always watching you picking up pennies and putting them in your pocket. I'm like, yeah, because I have a jar at home that I put them in. And they are worth something, right? So that one penny is now accumulated to probably 100 or 200 pennies. And it's,
Oh, yeah.
oh, so yeah, I love that. That is great.
Yeah. Thank you.
So you guys, I remember, if I remember right, Constance, you were saying that you started doing some stuff like in your garage and things like that, but yet all these kids was coming in, correct?
So, it's so funny. Like I said before, we started as a resource line, and then before I knew it, all these kids were wanting to come. And so I opened up my house to them, and we still till this day use my house. We'll use my garage, we'll use my backyard. We've tried to get into a building a few times, but the cost is so much because it's not just one thing we have to spend for, because all the activities that are sponsored is, we don't believe in just helping the child that needs help. We believe in helping the whole family. So we take the whole family and we're trying to embrace value, morals, respect. And so we invite family values. So we invite the families to come with their children to do activities and be sponsors. And yeah, so we are actually using my house.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You
We are
know,
growing out of my house, though, actually. My house is 2,900 square feet, which is pretty good size. But the children just multiply, especially around holidays and summer. When we have big activities, yeah, we get full.
oh, I can imagine. And
Mm-hmm.
do you guys go out there and do a lot of networking? I mean, Christopher, do you go out there and network at different groups and stuff to get yourself out there and hopefully find, some sponsors that want to help? And I don't know how nonprofit works too much. I know there's certain regulations and different things you got to follow, but you guys can still like take donations and things like that, right? To help you guys grow.
Yeah, we live off of donations, so that's every 100% of the money that comes in from donations we utilize for the kids in some way, and ours is a real transparent organization, so whenever somebody gives us a donation, they can actually see it working right away. You can see all the
Yeah.
activities that we do, all the things that we have, all the school supplies and drives that we do and things like that. And it's yeah, we do a lot.
Chris,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Chris, you should tell him about some of the things we do at the mall and like barbecues and
events and things.
So, so for the past few years, what we've done over at the West Valley Mall is the people that run that facility, the West Valley Mall, have been kind enough to donate a building location in there, a space where they have where you would set up the store. And what we do is through the end of the year holiday, like usually right after, right around, was it October or end of
Yeah.
October or something like
In
that?
the beginning of November, yeah.
Yeah, then what we'll do is we'll get a store location and we wrap gifts for donations and we use the kids to have that as a communication time with our community. Plus, it helps them just understand empathy a little bit better. Um, and we use those monies to invest in future projects or events or places, or like we do the young souls that have, you know, really good grades because they tried, the ones that always show up to school and have good attendance, ones that actually show up and participate in all of our community events. They have the opportunity to, and what we've done is we pick one place across the West Coast, usually, and then we let the kids pick. And then that's what we done. Last year was California, San Diego area. We went out there for a nice little long period and wrapped up food. Went out, contributed to the homeless, spent a lot of family time, went and saw SeaWorld, obviously went to the beach, journeyed through a lot of different places in California. And the place that we got, it was a whole estate. It was huge, ridiculously huge, and super fun for the kids and us adult kids.
For sure.
And then this year, what we did was we went out to Portland, Oregon. That's more of a spiritual journey out there. We got to see a lot of the beauty that that Oregon area has to offer. Went to a place called the Grotto. It's more spiritual grounds. Honestly, that was actually a Connie idea, and one of the huh?
I just laughed because I already know I could see you there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it was a beautiful thing to do. Connie, would you like to tell them about the grotto?
Yeah, so like I told you, going back to my domestic violence, I had moved to Portland, Oregon in 2002, and I found a parish unbelievable. If you haven't seen the Grotto, you need to go see the Grotto. Every person in the world needs to see the Grotto. But I used to go to this parish and volunteer and help, and it's just a place of serenity and it's just so peaceful. The beauty is so vibrant, and I made sure that when I came back there and the kids were, I was always telling them my favorite places, that was my favorite place to go kneel and pray because I believe that the Lord carries us in everything. There's always a plan, your negative is always going to turn into a positive somewhere in life. And I feel like those lessons, it was meant for me to take the kids there. When I took Chris and the kids and Madonna, and it was so funny. I never seen so many pastors and nuns and stuff out and about. They were giving the kids books and they just all had such a blast. And, it's definitely a place of my life that is bring serenity and peace and understanding to me. And so I wanted to share that with my youth for sure.
And good for you again for doing that. I mean, what you guys are doing. I mean, my gosh, this whole thing is amazing because I think the spiritual thing is very important. And again, I'm not talking religion. I'm talking
Right. Me neither.
spiritual, right?
Right.
Because I think spiritual, God is everywhere. You don't have to walk into a church to feel God. He's there everywhere you go. And having a place like that, what you just talked about, the Grotto, because for me, while I started on my journey, I started getting closer to God as well. And I found out that my serenity in my church and where I really felt in tune with my spiritual side is our Wasatch Mountains. I had to quit playing softball because I've blown my shoulders out so much I can't even throw a ball anymore. And I wanted to get outside to do something. So I heard a girl at the gym talking about hiking, and I'm like, "Where do you hike?" And she goes, "So you're not from here?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've lived here all my life." She goes, "And you've never been hiking up there?" And I'm like, "No." And so I did. I started hiking. She told me of a couple places. And I mean, the first time I went on a hike, I fell in love. And I've grown up being in the mountains because I grew up hunting and different things like that. But this was totally different because I wasn't out hunting for something. I was out literally enjoying nature and looking at everything.
Yeah.
And my gosh, I have had some of the most amazing spiritual awakenings while I've been gone by myself up in these mountains. And it does. There's something that when you're going up there for a special intent and knowing that there's someone with you, it just never seems to fail that you get something that says, I'm here. I'm here if you need me, right?
And with you saying that the you need me, I think what brought us to this point of taking them there was a lot of our youth, Kay, their parents have some type of issues, and some of them just they're not bad kids. They don't want to end up in a bad place.
Mm-hmm.
And they're good kids, actually. Some of them got A's, most of them got good A's and good grades and stuff now, but it took some work. But the purpose, I feel like, I don't know if you know, but Chris's daughters are actually in the Penny Project, and they were going through some turbulence at home or whatever, and they were telling me, we want to know what God's about, or just a spirit or something. And then I had another little girl who told me, well, I want to know about heaven, and I just felt like they were seeking out something spiritual, and it didn't have to be church. For me, I believe your temple is in your heart and your relationship with the Lord. Spiritual. I don't believe that you have to be, like you said again, a religion or a type or anything like that. But these kids were obviously seeking it, and I felt it was my responsibility to show them something amazing.
Yeah, that is so way cool. You know, Timothy, do you have a story? And I know you probably can't use names to protect kids and things like that, but do you have something, a special story since you've been a part of this and you guys have brought all this together? Is there one certain child or maybe a handful where you just seen a complete change that also, because you mentioned earlier, but all of you have how these kids have changed your lives, something that just really, you just went, oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. One of our kids that we have, his name is Tony. That kid he's become a young man in front of us, and he is probably the most stand up kid you'll ever meet. Responsible, I mean, he's his heart is where his head is, and that kid, he's going to be a CEO of a company one day. I could see him. He's a great kid, and he came in. He was troubled like a lot of the kids are when they first come in.
Mischievous, very mischievous.
Oh.
This kid is like a young man, and he really wants to be part of everything that we do. He's always there. He's always asking if he can help. He's always asking, what he can do, and always wants to take charge of something. It's really cool.
Playing with the
Yeah.
little kids and making them involved. Yeah.
So he's become a leader.
Oh,
Yes.
100%. Would you agree, Chris?
Yes, absolutely. Hello,
Wow.
Tony.
Yeah, me too.
So it sounds like it's Tony, right? It sounds like he may be all your favorites. It's just kind of he's changed all your lives. I mean, I'm sure all the kids are favorites, right? They have their own favorites in
Yeah.
ways, just like us as being parents or grandchild. I have three beautiful grandkids, and they are all very, very special to me in their own way.
Chris, would you like to share about your daughters? Because I mean, Chris has quite a story.
I heard his kids are awesome, by the way. Yeah.
So, um, so there's this space and time. Rewind just a little bit. I'll try to cut through as fast forward as I can. But coming from an addictive and a lifestyle of just addictions, I was in a place where I didn't have any accountabilities at all, or if I did, there was this much. And because of that, life, the way it transitions, put me in a space where it was about 3 years that I didn't even see my daughters at all. And not because I wasn't trying to, but I guess universal law, if you believe that's what it is, or God's plan. Uh, you know, I didn't have access to my kids. I wasn't allowed access to them. And it was hard because I understood I had to face exactly who I was, how I was being, and the things that I was doing, and what type of toxicities that I was creating. Uh, you know, and I noticed that once I actually started to fall into those maturities and awarenesses and um, facing all the trauma or turbulence that I created, then I noticed, life opening up and allowing me to have opportunities to see my kids. Since then, now I have, due to those accountabilities, I have full access as anybody would having a child in their home to a place now where I have custody of my child and she's in my home for years now, 4 years now, a little over 4 years. And so within that process of absence and the fact that both my ex and myself were going through those addictions, um, when you go through those things, you leave your thoughts, your attention, and your actions absent from your child because you're obviously um, not paying attention to them. You're lost in whatever the.
Yeah.
And so I did have both my children weren't really doing good in school. Um, Obviously, they shouldn't be if this was the case. But now, as opposed to some lighter grades, more on Leilani's side, she's still a really really good student. Uh, but my like Jasmine still up till now is a straight A student. All last year she had 1B and it was like an 88%. But straight A's, and they're all the days at school. And Leilani too. She's actually a straight A student this past year. It's not so much all straight A's, but still the majority of her grades are straight A's. And that comes from a place of like, I've seen to where I got custody of her and just learning how to re-communicate with your child and whatnot and into a new home and everything. In the beginning, she ran away from home. And she was too young to be doing stuff like that. And I understood that I was the problem. You know, as a parent, I was the problem. It's almost like keeping everything in the closet. Well, if you have all your skeletons and they're in the closet, whether old skeletons or ones that you're currently hiding that are active.
Yeah.
What happens is, like, say the color is blue. No matter how you seal it, there's still small cracks and pieces of that color getting out. So when my daughter's skeleton started falling out of her closet, what I noticed was her color was hers, but the color of blue, so to speak, was pretty damn close to mine, which let me know that I had to open up the closet and clean that shit out, clean it out completely. And if the door is open and if there's no skeletons being put in, then
I think at some point the Chris and Leilani, like, basically I had to call Chris out and Leilani, and it wasn't like call them out, but later on Leilani ended up doing really well. We actually had her do we did a human trafficking event and Leilani spoke her word and what she felt and how it was okay, because I told her it's okay, you're going to learn how to use your voice, and that's important for all of us. That is our motto. Like, we need these kids to know that they're important and they can use their voice, and she did, and they started using their voices together.
yeah,
So it was really cool to watch their situations unfold, and it's really cool. It's beautiful.
It's definitely beautiful. That it's an amazing story, and thank you for sharing that, Christopher. I really do appreciate it. You know, it's crazy how when we finally take accountability for our actions and we start building our integrity, it's amazing how life starts changing for us. And I had a friend call me a couple of years ago, and there was some things that was going on with her, and she was afraid that some of this stuff was going to get out to the wrong people, and she's like, Al, I don't really know what to do. And I says, give this a shot. I says, open up yourself, tell your story, use your voice, which you guys have been talking about, right? Use your voice. Because I says, once you do, no one can hold that carrot over your head ever again. Because
Yeah.
now they can't go around and say, oh, do you know what so and so did? Or did you hear about this? And they're like, yeah, this person's already said it. So what?
Yeah.
You cut that carrot, man. Go ahead, pick
Yeah.
it up and try to put it over my head again, because it won't stay there, because I've already cut it. So, and again, I think it's very important what you guys are doing by letting these kids know their voice means everything, because it does. How else are they supposed to learn, and how else are they supposed to hold themselves? You know, Another part, I'll just be vulnerable on my side too, is when I lost my job, and I may have shared this in my talk, Constance, I don't remember it. I had a friend call me and said, hey, you were known around the shop as a liar and a manipulator.
Oh yeah, you did tell
Yeah, I
me
was like,
this.
no, I'm not. No, I called BS on it. And then I started thinking about it, and I went, my gosh, they're right. Because I learned how to lie and manipulate my way out of trouble as a kid so I didn't get my butt kicked. Not realizing I took it into my teenage years, into my adult years, and I had mastered my craft. I had mastered my craft very, very well. And then going back to also being selfish. Now, I think it's very important we're all selfish in the good way, right? My selfishness was in the bad way. My selfishness was, it's all about me. And I think Christopher even shared that a little bit at the start. It's all about me. I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get whatever I want. I don't care who I hurt, who I have to plow over, as long as I get what I want. And it messes things up in life so much. And when you start understanding life a little bit more and changing your way of looking at things, and I remember how I said I was selfish when I first started volunteering, right? I was doing it because I heard God's going to reward you if you give back. Oh, okay, well, I'm going to start giving back. And I started giving back, and I'm like, okay, God, where's my blessings? Come on, come on. And I didn't get anything in return until I understood I was doing this the whole wrong way, because I fell in love with volunteering just like what you guys did. And before I knew it, I was on 5 different committees. I was chair and co-chair of Best Buddies Utah, where we worked with Down syndrome and autistic kids, and I fell in love with these kids. And before I knew it, when I was hurting and life was really throwing shitballs at me, all those blessings were coming back to me. I had people giving me money just out of nowhere. I had people leaving boxes of food at my door because I had none. I was living off of top ramen noodles for months, And go ahead, Christopher. I can see you got something you want to share.
Here's what I also learned about those blessings, and it helped create like the purpose change. They say everything happens for a reason. Actually, has everything happens on purpose. Somebody decided to create a purpose and then execute. Now, what I've learned from that is the blessings thing. Oh, I'll get the blessings if I do this and this and this. But what I really learned was that I noticed the blessings, and sometimes the blessings were getting a FaceTime from my son in Colorado, and I see how happy he is with his wife and how his son is growing, and I see the authentic vibration of what's going on with them, and then it hits me. Oh, bam! That was your blessing. Your blessing was the peace of being able to see that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it don't come in that materialistic aspect, and so because of that, I've sacrificed the idea of money's materialism or any of those things because I understand that the blessing is the inner peace. because I'll tell you what, I got a big, huge house. There were moments in time where I didn't care because the inner peace wasn't good.
For real.
You know, and I'm so glad that you shared
I
that
agree with that.
because the blessings do come in all types of different ways. And when I was co-chair with Best Buddies, I just got involved and we did a thing what we call a buddy prom. And a buddy prom is where kids who don't have special needs are the dates for the kids who have special needs. And I remember seeing cheerleaders and what we call back in my day jocks and people, bringing dates who have special needs to this. And to me, that was a blessing to see that, because back in my days in high school, if you asked me to do that, no, I had other more important things to do, right? So it was cool to see that. But when you shared that, Christopher, something, my mind jumped to something that happened to me at that prom, the very first prom. We stopped the dancing, which ticked the kids off, because I tell you what, those Down syndrome kids, they love to dance. You cannot get them off the dance floor. We stopped the music for some things to be shared and some awards to be given. And this Down syndrome kid walked up to me, just sat next to the side of me, standing there, and I'm watching my buddy Jared talk. And I look over and I said, "Hi." And he looks at me and he goes, "Hi." And he tells me his name. I think his name was Jerry. He goes, "Hi, I'm Jerry." And I said, "Hi, Jerry, I'm Al." And he leans over and just gives me the biggest bear hug. And just, I mean, those kids are strong. I was like, "My gosh, I can hardly breathe." And he goes, "I love you." And I'm going, "You
Oh, how
just met me."
cute.
So those are the blessings that you're talking about, other than the materialistic type things that come in.
Yeah.
It's
I love
actually
that.
kind of
That's
funny
awesome.
for us because we really don't have a lot of money and we really don't have a lot of materials. We really hustle to get what we can and we make mountains out of very little, very little. But I always tell these guys, you know what? Don't worry. God will always provide. As long as he sees your heart is pure, we're going to be okay. And we always make, I mean, these kids just always so happy. And it's just out of the little tiny bits that we have. And we still keep going because it's not again, it's not about the money. It's about the blessing, the feeling, the love, the smiles. Those smiles will just change you in minutes. I would love for you to come sometime and meet the kids.
I would love that. And when you said it's not about the money and stuff. However, what all you guys are doing, and you
Mhm.
just said it, and I don't know if I'm sure you do realize that you said it. You guys are giving the most important thing. And see, I'm getting choked up even thinking about it. You guys are giving the most important thing, because nothing can take love away. Nothing. That is the power. That is the power that will change this freaking messed up world that we're in. Is the more love that we give and the more we teach love, the more it's going to spread. So you guys are giving the number one, at least my version of it. You guys are giving these kids the number one thing, and that's the love.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To that.
Timothy, you got anything you want to share?
Well, actually, I think that for me the biggest thing for the Penny Project has brought to me is the journey itself. The I think the journey is the blessing for me, and so I think that as the Penny Project grows, I learn a lot of new skills. I learn a lot of new things about kids, about parenting. And one of the things that I have that situations that I'm in right now is I have a son, and he has been my ex has hid him away from me for a while. I only got to see him for the first year of his life, and he's 3 now, and I ended up going through the system and getting custody of him, 50% custody of him. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's and I ended up once I got the custody, I can't find her, and so until I can get him back, the kids with the Penny Project are kind of coaching me how to be a dad, and how to do it right. And it's going to be a good resource for me, and hopefully my kid becomes one of the penny kids, and
Well,
Man, that's awesome. And again, thank you for sharing that. What a great way of looking at it, that these kids are teaching you to be a better father. That's what an amazing way of looking at it. I love that. That is so cool. And I don't know, I just want to throw this out there. If it would help you guys, some of the recovery centers like Red Barn, which is in Farmington, TOSA, the Other Side Academy, which is downtown Salt Lake, they give back a lot to the community, and they teach that a lot. And, kind of like what Troy does over there at their business, Troy and Dave, about giving
oh my
back.
gosh, we love Troy and Dave.
Yeah,
We
they're
absolutely love them. They help us a
awesome,
lot.
awesome people. And I'm wondering that if you went to one of their places like TOSA and even Red Barn, they have thrift stores. Because when they do estate sales, whatever doesn't sell, Red Barn and TOSA comes out and they come and take what they think will sell at their thrift stores. So it's helping all kinds of people. I wonder if you went to them at their thrift stores and said, this is who we are, this is what we're about. Would we like to raise some money, hopefully, so we can take kids on a trip or do things with them. Would you be willing to maybe have a month-long fundraiser to where maybe you give $1 or $2 or $5 off of every item that you sell and give
Oh,
it
that's a
back?
great idea.
So possibility. And again, these guys, they really love giving back, and they are very, very strong on getting involved in the community, because again, it's the opposite of addiction is connection. And the more we connect and the more we get ourselves out in the community and help, it helps a lot of people that are, or individuals that are in the recovery community, right? Because it's, you guys just talked about it today on this show, about just giving yourselves out there, right? Doing something to make a change and make a difference. And by doing that, it's changed your lives, and it's changed the lives of how many kids. Maybe bring the two organizations together, because you all have been around the addiction, I think. So I don't know. I'm just seeing two gears that are meshing right there. It's a possibility.
That's a great possibility. Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to get information from you. I've never heard of neither of those programs.
Oh yeah. Check out the Other Side Academy. Them and Red Barn are the only 100% free recovery centers in our valley. They're not state
That's actually
funded.
good to know too for our clients. Like if we ever have clients, the parents need some help.
Yeah, because they're not state funded, federal funded. They're nonprofit, but they do not get any money. I mean, there are people who donate money, but they generate their own income. They have the #1 moving company in the valley called the Other Side Movers. They own 3 thrift stores. They now just opened a donut shop. They have a construction.
Oh.
So as kids, as individuals go through these programs, they graduate. And before you know it, they're now working. They have a job, whether it's moving or whether they're in the construction. And that's what generates the money that comes in. So these individuals who want to get out of the addiction, and also they help a lot that are going to prison. There are a lot of them that they're getting ready to do 20, 30 years because of drug or alcohol related type crimes or different things like that. And they accept them if they're serious. Because if not, if they don't finish the program, they're back in prison. So they generate their own income to help fund this whole thing, and they are just growing. Now they just opened up a thing called the Other Side Village, and they are helping unsheltered. They are building these tiny homes. They call them tiny homes, and they are tiny. It's probably like the size of this living room that I'm sitting in, but it has a kitchen, a bedroom, and a bathroom, and closets. And it's giving individuals who are working hard to get themselves off the streets, and it's giving them an opportunity to put a roof over their head. And their goal is to put 60 up to see where it goes. and then hopefully expand
Wow.
from there. So I don't know, just something to think about for you guys. And I'm more
Yeah,
than
we
happy
would
to
definitely
connect you.
like to get information.
That's good info.
Yeah.
That's-
I
What
never
was that,
thought about
Christopher?
anything.
So that's good information. That's really good information.
Yeah. Hopefully it could help you guys. There could be a pairing there, and same with Red Barn. You know, a lot of times these Red Barn does a car show every year, and they do a run. And matter of fact, I just got an email today from Red Barn asking people if they'd be willing to help donate to help the Red Barn is just a man's facility. TOSA is a men and women, but they're asking if they'll help donate some things so the individuals that are there can help do angel trees to help give gifts and stuff for kids at Christmas time.
Do you know what kind of stuff they're looking for? We also donate to other nonprofits around the holidays and stuff. Like today, we're donating to an anti-bully that are doing a hot cider coat and beanie drive to the community. And
Uh-huh.
like we have extra, sometimes people donate us stuff that we don't use for the children that we will donate to other nonprofits.
So
So
what I'll do, Constance, is I will send you the contact information over at Red Barn. And I was actually just there Tuesday night. So I spoke out there a little over a year ago, and one of my friends, Jessica, just spoke out there Tuesday. And they're an amazing facility. So I'll send you the email, and feel free to drop my name. Go ahead and say, hey, Al Richards said it might be a good idea to reach out to you. This is what we do. And I don't know. I mean, you got two answers, yes or no, or maybe three.
yeah,
It could be a maybe, right? But these guys they're so into helping individuals and getting out there in the community. There's a possibility for a relationship being started.
oh, yes. We're always looking for new relationships. Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying to think from TOSA. I'll send you Robin's information too. I'll send you her email. Robin Sims, she's just freaking amazing. Robin is a sweetheart. Robin came off the streets, ran with the gangs. She was a badass girl. I mean, badass girl. And you see this woman now, and you would just never know it. When she got out of prison, she walked all the way to TOSA, and now she works for him. And she was in heels, because she got what she went in with, and that's what they gave her as she got out. But yeah, it was prison or jail. She walked all the way to TOSA off of First South and Seventh East, and
Wow.
now she's going and helping other people stay out of prison and getting them in TOSA. All of them are doing amazing work.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine being in the streets and then changing your life so dramatic, but it's not hard to do. Anybody can do it. It's just, the will to do it is different than saying I can do it, but don't put no effort. It's definitely a challenge, and you definitely go through different things to get to that place,
Yeah. Well, you can get yourself out of it just like you got yourself in. I mean,
Right.
all three of you guys are great examples, right? All three of you. You guys have changed your life around. You're doing amazing things to help other individuals, and it doesn't matter how old you are. It took me till I was in my 50s to finally realize what my why was, because I was so lost in just my job and being a selfish SOB, and now I know what my why is, and it's to speak and do the show and coach, and I'm still working on building that up, and I'm just taking that nice and slow. I don't want to rush into it. And you said, I'm pretty sure it was you, Constant, that said it at the beginning of the show. All of us have gone through a ton of shit in our life. And it's people who have gone through that woke up one day and said, this is not going to be me. This is not going to be my legacy. This is not what I'm going to leave behind for my kids and my grandkids. I'm going to change my life, and I'm going to do what I can to help change other people's lives. It goes to show it is absolutely possible. It doesn't matter how old you are. I'm 60. I hit 61 in July. And I tell you what, I think for the very first time, I am in love with myself, and I really believe in myself and my integrity, and everything means the world to me, And it's worked. I've had to work my ass off the last 15 years, just like you guys have had to work your asses off to get to where you're at. And now that integrity and accountability, that's us, man. That means everything to us. And the more we can help other individuals, which you guys are starting at the beginning with these kids, right? You're hopefully getting to them before they make these huge mistakes and really turn their lives upside down. So again, I tip my hat off to all three of you guys, as well as the rest of the team members that aren't on this call.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not a person. It takes a team to do it for sure. And with that being said, like we had 6 kids getting ready to graduate out our door this year. Actually, we're super excited that we're not even thinking about going to college or graduating really. And now they're graduating and going to college, hitting all the dances. Like they were talking about Tony earlier. That boy didn't even want to play no sports. He plays football, wrestles, and track, right?
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah.
So
Chris was the first one to take him to a dive, and we went river rafting, and Chris challenged him to go. What did you do, Chris? What was it?
It was
rope diving or something.
So there's a Hispanic cultural type thing, or whatever, from my perspective, where you go to the river and you get in the water, you kind of cleanse all the energy off your soul. Now, that's a good idea. It was a great idea. But what I also liked was the ice bath. Like you go ice and then you get in the bath and it kind of gives you shock therapy, kind of resets your emotional compass. So we took them up to City Creek Canyon, and they were little kids, from the little ones waist high, all the way up to our teenage kids. And we all went as a team, as a group. And that water is super.
Oh, it was so cold.
Ice cold.
Chris didn't make the challenge.
Yeah. So we all got in. Tony got in the water. He was actually the first one in. He was the first one in. And the whole thing is submerge yourself, submerge your whole body. So the little kids, the girls, everybody got in. And then one of our youngsters, George, and I name blasted. Oh no. So it was actually a good thing. I remember the idea was he always seems to be the one that's a little bit more aggressive with his emotions. Like he's a little bit out of bounds with them. But what happened was he got in that cold ice water and he stayed there like this in the water. And I was like, I think that kid knows how to control his emotions because he's been in there like 10 minutes now.
Oh, jeez.
Let me learn more. Let me learn him a little bit more, which was really, really cool. And it was nice to see all the kids challenge themselves. We did it a few times. I was trying to create a habit of it. So that's the goal. We've done it. I've done it quite a few times. We went out with the kids, and the next plan is to do it again, especially while it's cold outside, even more.
Winter.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you guys. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have all three of you, and definitely a pleasure meeting you guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be with us today. And it's hard to believe that it's gone by already. We've actually gone over an hour. I mean, it has just flown by so quick. I'd like to give each one of you an opportunity, if there's something some kind of positive thing that you want to throw out there, just whatever comes to mind, something that you'd like to share with our listeners, whether it's about self-growth or understanding yourself, or maybe even a quick story about a kid that you've helped.
So here's what I like to say to everybody. Just keeps it hella simple. It's all about growth, maturity, development, helping out somebody. So I'll keep it very simple. Breathe life and growth into every soul that you connect with. And if you're not breathing life or growth into any soul that you're trying to connect with, then just zip your lips and be quiet.
Love it. Thank
like
you.
it.
Thank you for sharing that, Christopher. Who wants to go next?
I can.
Okay.
I just want people to understand or try to be a little more available and be willing to listen and not always talk. Sometimes somebody just needs to be heard, and encourage somebody if they're feeling bad, that it's okay to scream and come back and breathe, and that you're still going to be there to listen.
Great advice. Timothy.
Yeah. My favorite thing is get a hobby. I have a million hobbies that I do. I create art. See some of my wood burnings.
Show 'em one, bro.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show 'em one
of
of
my
your wood burning.
Holy
right there.
Toledo. That is amazing.
He's the man.
And
Wow.
so you know how they say you're jack. You can be a jack of all trades, a master of, but a master of none. I actually think the opposite of that. I think you can be a master of all trades as long as you.
Boom. Yeah, boom.
Great way of looking at it.
You
Awesome.
are
So
a lot of things, bro. You're a master at a lot of things.
You'll do better
Can I
in life.
say one thing before we head off?
Sure.
If anybody is interested in donating or anything, the holidays are coming for us. We will be at the Valley Fair Mall this year, but we are at the Penny Project, and you are able to reach out to Al. Has my information. But we could use stuff for projects. It doesn't have to be money. Anything you would like to donate for a youth book, Mod Podge, like anything, art activities or creativity stuff. We take it all, and we appreciate any help that we can get.
Okay.
And we
Thank you for
our
sharing that.
time. Yeah.
If you guys have a Facebook page or whatever, if you have a brochure, something like that, please share it with me so I can make sure I share it on my social media, because I do what I can to help support other people. Like tonight, I'm taking a date out to an arrow break. One of my friends, Tiffany, who works at USARA, they're doing an arrow break, and it's all about bringing out things that are holding you back. And they actually put an arrow right to your neck and they hold it. And if you're really true about releasing things, you put a little weight, and if it's real, the arrow will snap. If not, it puts a little too much pressure, and of course you back off. But I do my best to get other people's information out there on my social media, because I use my social media all for positivity. I don't like putting a lot of negative crap on there at all. It's every morning I do 3 to 4 positive things, and I share the show on there. So if you guys have something, please get it to me, and I'll be more than happy to post it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you for your time. It's been nice. Let's keep in touch.
Yes, let's please do. And I will get that information to Red Barn and Tosa to you. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, guys, thank you again very much. Thank you to all
thank
our
you for
guests.
having us.
You're welcome. All our past guests, I love and appreciate all of you, and especially to all our listeners. This show wouldn't be going as long as it has been without you guys. You guys are the ones that's keeping this thing going. I really appreciate and love your support. We're going to leave you with this as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.
Oh, I like that.
Like that.